Hey, welcome back to Drive Time. I am your host, Craig Pasta Jardula, and we do it live, bringing you all the hot takes, headlines, and unfiltered opinions that matter most. Whether you're stuck in traffic, cruising to work, or just chilling at home, we want to hear from you. Today's topics are all about the big stories making waves, but we're not just here to talk at you. We want to hear your thoughts, your experiences, and your take on everything from the latest political debates to the everyday challenges we face. Remember, whether you're on the left, the right, or somewhere in between, we welcome all points of view. So grab that hands-free device, dial us up, and let's dive into the conversation. What's on your mind? It's Drive Time. Call in now. Good morning. I just got one thing to say. Sleepy J is here with me. It is Drive Time in the morning. Guys, we got like 11 people in here on the counter, and that's not even counting the Rumble people. We love you on Rumble. There's a lot of reviews on the Rumble, but 11 people. Oh, it just dropped to 9. 2 of you left. You had to get ready for work. And now my method of sharing the show. And by the way, I just want to say good morning to Sleepy Josh, my companion.
Good morning.
My man. He's more than just an engineer. He's everything in between. I don't know what to say. I don't know what that meant, but I love it. Hey, Josh, Sleepy J, say hello to the people out there.
I'm very, very tired this morning. I apologize for dragging ass.
Me too. But you see, I got my new mug, and we got game 3 today, and it's New York basketball. That's what they say in the stadium. The guy who announces it, everybody goes crazy. And it's going to be like nuts in New York today. Like, you don't even understand. Like, it's been 53 years, because I know the last time they won, it was the year I was born, and I'm 53 years old, or 53 years young.
I thought it was an away game today.
No. The first 2 were away because San Antonio had a better record.
Oh, they won the away
first
games?
2. The Knicks went to San Antonio and grabbed the corazon out of the heart of the body of the San Antonio Spurs. You know, they shouldn't have won. I mean, game 1, it was tied with like 2 minutes to play. And the Knicks went on a 10-0 run to win the game. And then yet the other game, which was on Friday night, where I got to watch the second half because that's when my date ended, which, Josh, don't break your rules of a date. Remember, I was asking the crowd what a good and expensive first date is. Don't break your rules and go for sushi on the first date, because if the date doesn't turn out good, you're out a few bucks from the sushi you spent. Thank God I could put it on the credit card, because it's didn't come out of my bank account because I can't afford it right now at this very moment. But yeah, you know, don't break that rule, because you don't know how people are.
It's true.
Yeah. And I'm literally sending the show. I'm texting it to people because of my Twitter situation, where I have more people I can send it to more people in a matter of 5 minutes on my phone than I have followers now on my backup Twitter.
You got to get your Twitter built up again.
Oh, God, man, it's just a fucking. I mean, look, I know it wasn't many.
I'm gonna put a note to bug Misty. She can probably.
Well, you know what? The thing is that I got to go bother Twitter again. I got to do another whole round of mailing their legal department, but they don't want to deal with it. I got to get a human's eyes on it. I haven't been able to do that. I'm gonna refill out. They have this stupid fucking form you have to fill out if something like this happens. If your Twitter gets jacked, mine got jacked. Good morning, Bill. Good morning. Look at some new people out there. Game 3 will prove Vegas influence. There's no way Spurs should win Game 3, but they will. I don't think they're going to. I think the Knicks are going to win. I think the Knicks are going to sweep the series now. I didn't think they would sweep the series in the beginning. I thought Game 2 would definitely go to the Spurs if the Knicks stole Game 1. Otherwise, I thought the Knicks would have a good chance to steal Game 2. But the Knicks won both. And it's going to be way too much. I mean, it's going to be like right now as a San Antonio Spur fan, as a San Antonio Spur player and you're in New York, you can't even go out anywhere. You'll get mobbed. You're ordering food to the hotel. You're getting escorted out of the hotel. You're not going anywhere. It is that crazy in New York, and it's going to be that nuts. Now, here's the thing. Kalshi and Polymart told you that the San Antonio Spurs were going to win, that they were the favor. Do you see how they're manipulating you? A lot of people are like, oh, my God, if Kalshi and Polymart say that the Spurs are going to win, they got to win. No, they manipulate.
Why does that Polymarket shit exist, by the way? Why?
Because it lets you bet on, like, what country is going to be invaded next.
Yeah, that's not good. This is gross, dude. This is like weird electronic version of the end of Rome.
Yeah. It's kind of sad. There's Triumph the dog is at the Republican convention, the national convention. He goes like, "Hey, Marco Rubio. Hey, Rubio, come over here. I just want you to let me know what country we're invading next so I can make some money on Polymart." And Rubio laughs, and I laugh. Everybody laughs when they see it because you're like, Triumph, man. That's crazy. Guys, do us a favor. Share the show. My Pasta to Go channel is not demonetized. It's monetized. You can actually leave a super chat if you want to help out the show. And there's a list of other ways you can do it down below, too, as well. If you're not in a position to help, we love the shares. That really helps out. This is your new morning spot. Every weekday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, right here on Pasta to Go YouTube, on Pasta to Go Rumble, on the Facebooks, which nobody watches. And we're not on Twitter because my Twitter got jacked and stolen and I still haven't gotten back. And that's really that we were just talking about. If you just joined it, that really hurts because it's, it's close to 30,000 subscribers, 30,000 followers. That would be a good little bump right now to share on my old network with some of my people that don't know what I'm doing. But look, we start off slow, we build momentum, and then we crush it. And we want to be here. We're going to be here. We've been here very consistent, have we not, Josh? Started the show on time every single day. Every
single day.
Channel you can depend on. We know it's early for like my West Coast peeps, so that's why it's going to take a little while because it's East Coast people only. But I mean, unless somebody gets up at 5 o'clock over there, Josh, which there are a lot of people who probably are up drinking a Mountain Dew at that time. No,
probably.
Well,
that wouldn't be me when I was in California, but I mean, I get up at like 5:36 because I'm an hour back from you.
So I got to say that. Let me see. Is the all right? Where's the Rumble people at? What's up? And Entom and Bill is over there. Guys, share it on out. Help us on out. I figured today in the morning we could talk about this Albanian story, but let me just say this much. I got a call from a good friend out there, and I want to send a big shout out and love. Good morning, critical thinkers. I want to send a big shout out to my friend Tommy T, who called. I haven't spoke to him in years, and we just had that long ass talk. You know that political friend you have where you have disagreements, but you can still have those conversations, and you don't hold anything against them, and you get off the phone, and they're sending you love, and when you're on totally two different ends of the spectrum, disagreements. Sleepy, those guys that you can do that with. It's cool.
Yeah, it's called a normal fucking person.
Yeah. It's called being an adult, right? Good morning, Fred. We had that phone conversation yesterday. And here's the thing. There are a lot of people I know, and there's a decent amount of white men, right? And I've said this before, like, you can't control who and where you were born at, right? Like, you have no control if you were born a colonizer to a white person in rural America, and maybe you don't have to see the suffering. Now, I believe that even though that I can't control how I was born, I can control my thoughts and my words towards the future, right? My responsibilities in the future to live a good life, to understand and recognize the suffering. And there's those people who say, I recognize what's going on, I want to change it. And there's a lot of other people who say, I recognize what's going on, and I'm just going to survive and make it no matter, despite the conditions, because I can't change what's going on. And I do believe a lot of people, they feel helpless to really change what's going on. So they say, these are the conditions. If these are the conditions, I'm going to make it under these conditions, right? Remember, guys, you can call on in. This is a call-in show, 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. So these are the conditions, and I'm going to survive under these conditions, right? And then they also find ways as part of their, I don't want to say they find ways, but a lot of the things that happened to them in the past shape their future and their mindset of what's going on. It shapes their present day mindset of what's going on. And I know I might sound like I'm rambling or bumbling on and stuff like that, but that's the way a lot of people approach life. Like, okay, we live in a capitalist system. This is what I'm dealt with, and I'm going to survive no matter what. And then they got to have this attitude towards, well, if I made it, then you can make it, right? I got to tell you, the date kind of went south when we started talking a little politics at the table, and I probably should have avoided it, but I can't, right? Like, this is who I am. I got to talk about who I am and what I'm doing right off the jump. In fact, I just kind of get it out there to see how, my dates would respond with it. If they like it, they don't like it, whatever the case may be.
Hey, it's a good bullshit filter, man.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and you know, that's when the date kind of went a little bit. My date was from Hungary, and she asked my opinions on what was going on in Russia, Ukraine.
Oh,
and that didn't really go too well. But I mean, I tell people it's like I'm not pro Russia. It's just that no matter what's going on, I don't think the United States needs to be involved. End of story. That's my position. Let the Hungarians, let the Ukrainians, let the Russians, let the Belarusians, let them all work this out themselves. The United States need not be involved. And those people, don't you love those people, Josh, who go, don't you let me know what's going on with my country? Well, then I guess if that's the theory you're working with, where I can't give an opinion about your country, then you can't give an opinion about mine. And my country is the one who's calling all the shots, who's making all the move, who's the aggressor. I might not know about Hungary the way you do, but you don't know about the fucking CIA the way I do. Then I guess if that's the fucking theory, shut up, Bill.
We started this war, and that's a fucking fact.
Yeah, I mean, we're the aggressor. We start most of the wars. It's like when people are talking about China and Russia, the other superpowers. I always say, okay, well, there's actions and there's reactions, right? And we don't talk about the reactions of somebody without talking about the initial actions. And I used to have arguments with somebody who's like, well, you shouldn't have reacted that way. Okay, I wouldn't have reacted that way if you didn't act that way. We wouldn't have all these countries having to react a certain way if the United States didn't act that way to begin with. So that's, all in all itself where we're at. But anyways, people have this mindset that these are the conditions they're at. They can't change anything. So make the best of it. And I can't argue that sometimes, right? Because we always come back to, well, things could be worse. Things could be better. And I explain to them, hey, look, I get it. Some people recognize the situation and they say, I'm going to exist in those conditions. And a person like myself says, I'm going to recognize the situation and I'm going to call it out for what it is. I don't think there needs to be suffering. Is it really obscure, right? I mean, there's going to be always some form of suffering, but is it obscure when I say there should be no hunger on this planet? That nobody should die from a lack of food? Everybody on this planet. Is that really an obscure thing to say? Is that not possible, Sleepy J?
I'm pretty sure most human beings think like that deep down.
Right. We don't need a war. We don't need a world where there's war everywhere. Is it obscure to say that everybody should have housing and shelter on this planet? Is that an obscure thing to say?
I mean, these days, kind of. It's like, well, how are the landlords going to make money?
Like saying that everybody in the world should have some form of shelter, right? Like,
I live in a really poor part of where I'm at in Illinois, and literally at least a quarter to half of these houses are abandoned and falling down. Yeah, no people in them.
Yeah, no, I think there was people who were pointing out what China had those ghost towns for a while. That's an interesting story. But anyways, I mean, that's what I'm talking about when I say those things. So when people go, Pasta, you're being unrealistic with this whole thing, and come on, man, we live in, I don't know. I'm just going to, and I said this, there's some people out there, and I don't hold anything against you. These are the conditions. You're making it in these conditions, in this capitalist world. I tip my hat off to you. But just understand where I'm coming from, right? And I'm not some just over-the-top, bleeding heart liberal thinking that these things aren't possible. I see that we're dropping bombs, and I say we're because it's our tax dollars that are funding it. It's coming from our country. Every bomb that Israel has dropped on Gaza, every bomb that Israel has dropped on Lebanon or Iran comes from these United States of America. And when people always Muslims this and they're so awful, it's all Christian bombs that are being dropped. Please, Candace Owens, wake the fuck up.
The only thing we export these days is misery, man. That's it. Misery and bombs. That's our two.
We got a whole economy based on killing people and starving people out. That's what's going on in California, too. They got a whole economy based upon keeping people homeless, making money off suffering. And that's all the shit we need to stop. They're complaining now in California how awful the elections are. I mean, it's just like a fucking joke. It's 27 days of counting, 2 weeks of early voting.
Has it really been that long now?
You don't see the counting process. I mean, it goes, Yeah, and they're still trying to make this. And this is listen. They're still now in the mainstream media and what we see, and they did it on 60 Minutes with Donald Trump. Right? Anybody who denies that the election was legit in 2020 is branded. You're a crazy conspiracy theory. I would like to debate with any of those mainstream people. Give me Mehdi Hassan. Give me Mehdi Hassan. Give me any of those fucking douchebags on MS Now, on CNN. Let them debate me about them. In 2 seconds, I'll turn it around. They'll try to capture you. So you think the 2020 election was rigged? I think our elections are not transparent and not fair, and we don't know what is right, what is wrong. Well, what do you mean? We know that the 2020 election was fair. How do we know? How do you know?
Because you can't prove it either way.
A corporate company that's private equity, right? They're like a zombie company of another zombie company, told the state these are the numbers from the counting, and then the state told you. So can you trust a corporate private equity company that you know nothing about to say, hey, these are the numbers that are fair? You can't see the counting mechanism.
Dude, if it was fair, they'd let us audit that shit, and they don't.
Yeah. Well, no, if it was fair, it would be an open source system. If it was
fair, I mean, we don't get to audit the code.
Yeah.
We don't get to audit the code. It's not open. Yeah. It's not.
By the way, the Knicks shirt, Mitchell Robinson, dunking off Joel Embiid. Yeah. Been eating too much pasta. Made some Sunday gravy yesterday. Sorry, Gabrielle. Don't get mad at me. And people out there, don't tell Miriam she'll get mad at me. From Honey Connolly, my girl. But anyways, I'd love to debate some of those people. I really would. But that's still the game, ladies and gentlemen. They're going to keep the independent thinkers, the non-tribal, or the not. I like the word that my friend Gabrielle, the producer, uses: cultish people. It's a cult now. If you're in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, you're in a cult. You're in a fucking cult. Wake the fuck up. It's big money that's running these things, and we're seeing this heavy and hard right now. The common sense Democrats, because Donald Trump is so awful that all these people, all these Democrats are making sense now, and they're getting ready to swing it back the other way. Here comes they literally the lesser of two evil game, Josh.
It's all fundraising for these assholes. They let him get away with so much shit just so they could use that as ammo for fucking fundraising. It's disgusting. It's like, I don't know. You're in office. Maybe try to do something about it. No, I guess not. No, okay.
I don't think they let him. I think this is all by design. They let one side go crazy.
Dude, yeah. I'm saying let him because if there was a Democrat in office, they'd be letting him do the same shit. So it doesn't matter. The same laws get passed no matter who's in office.
Yep. The war still keeps going on.
Doesn't matter.
So we have this whole situation, and we want to invite anybody to call on in, whether it be if you're on the road, if you're driving, whatever it is. Just a little bit of Albania going on. Right? There they are. They've been in the street.
Hey, turn down the music a little bit.
What's that?
I was just saying, turn down the music a little bit. It was kind of loud.
Yeah, I know. Like, hopefully they can catch that. But they've been protesting in the streets in Albania. And let me see. So let's go with this one. I'm gonna play this from CBS News, guys. In Albania, as you know, the Donald Trump what was it? The situation with Albania that I have a little Lego video that explains the story after. Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner found.
Dude, did you see that interview with her? It was so dumb.
Yeah.
It was so just over the top, man.
Stop. Oh my God. Guys, if you want to call it in, 561-247-2721. Here they are protesting in the streets in Albania. They're not backing down. Take a listen.
Thousands took to the streets of Albania's capital this week with a message for their prime minister.
Albania is not for sale.
They're demanding authorities stop the construction of a $1.4 billion luxury coastal resort backed by Jared Kushner's investment firm, Affinity Partners.
It will be basically another city.
Protesters went to the site of the proposed development today, which sits on the country's
we've got a Fred
Adriatic
on.
Coast and Wildlife Reserve,
Hold 'em.
home to seals, nesting sea turtles, and flocks of flamingos. In a podcast earlier this week, Ivanka Trump discussed how she and her husband stumbled upon the area's untouched beauty while on a friend's boat.
We swam to the islands. We went on a hike, barefoot all the way up to the top. And
I'll
we were
get
just
your barefoot.
captivated.
Albania's prime
All right. We can get more into that after, but Albanian's prime minister said it's going to happen on his watch. But we got some interesting news on Sunday about the project. We'll get back to that. Let's get to the caller. Caller, who are you? Where are you calling from?
Good morning. It's Fred. I'm calling from Indiana.
What's up, Fred?
boy.
Glad you got up with us again.
Trying to get up. Yeah, I was gonna stay silent and let you play that piece on the Albania island. I cannot believe. I mean, she sounds so disconnected from reality. We discovered the island. We swam to it. We surveyed it, and now we want it.
Yeah, I guess you discovered it since the Russians have a bunch of fucking tunnels there. Yeah, you certainly discovered that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's
My
kind of
favorite
crazy.
line
The
was,
tunnels,
I
right?
think people want to live like this. People want to live like this on a private island. More and more people want to live like this. More and more people want to steal land that belongs to the people of another country. Our circle is pretty damn small.
Well, they're unrealistic, right? And it's like $1 billion project that her and her husband were able to jump on in, and they've been enriching themselves so much since Donald Trump got back into office. I mean, it's their turn, Fred. It's their turn to enrich themselves and steal from the people and lie to the people. So, I mean, they're just doing what every single politician does, what every leader gets in. You know, it's crazy.
Well, it seems more in your face, over the top.
Yeah.
I
This
mean, from the Trump coin to those Trump phones to this island.
Well,
And
here's the thing, Fred. They had the case study with Obama, and they learned that people were going to praise him no matter what he did. No matter what happened, that people are so tribal that they're not really looking for the truth. They're just looking for confirmation bias. And right now with Donald Trump, we see the same thing. Like, I make this joke that I said, I never would think there would be that much hero worshiping for a president that we saw with Barack Obama. We would never see anything more than that. And then the Trumpers came along and said, hold my beer. They just support this guy no matter what. And there's so many people out there doing that. And he's just going more in your face, going harder. And I think like they're almost testing us, and we're failing the test.
It does seem that way. I think we've purposely dumbed down society and put us under so much working stress.
Yeah.
That too many people are completely clueless. I have a friend who 2 weeks ago was insisting that the U.S. was still going to win against Iran.
Well,
like why? I tried to get her to explain how she thought that, why she thought that, and she said because we have more bombs.
Yes. Okay.
But we
People have
don't.
this. They got this GI Joe mentality. And really, to tell you the truth, and this is if you think about the way, our parents, the movies they watched and what was going on. I watched Turner Classic Movies, and they have these spans of like showing these war movies, right? And how they, they kind of depict the United States in the World War II. And there's a lot of that propaganda out there. And first of all, they depict us as like the heroes, like the fighters for human decency and whatnot. It's the Americans coming in to make sure we're spreading a little bit of that democracy around and whatnot. So the first part is that. And then they just kind of, show us as like, the ultimate like warriors, like we're going to win at the end, no matter what. And now we have people out there. And it was a smart person I know, who's a comedian, who said, like, people don't understand how strong America is. And you hear Donald Trump repeat this. We have the best Air Force in the world. We have the best Navy. We have the best military ever. And they do say stupid shit like we have more bombs. And Kyle Anzalone said on the show last Thursday, the United States can inflict a lot of pain on the citizens. But the citizens, and I don't know if you saw this the other day, Fred, they started their bombing campaign. We're going to talk about it on the Truth Wire today. The Iran war is pretty much back on, right? The Iran-United States war. But this time, Iran hit Israel, not for Israel bombing Iran, but for Israel bombing Lebanon. So this is the first time a regional power said, no, you ain't going to do this anymore. We told you a ceasefire is a ceasefire across the board. Here we go. They hit Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv hit back, and who knows where we'll be from there. But we're not. This isn't G.I. Joe. The more bombs and the more technology isn't going to win. If there's anything that has stayed consistent, that a smaller army or a smaller military in their homeland has an advantage over the bigger army trying to invade that's even more technological or has more firepower. That smaller army that's playing at home has that advantage. And let's be honest, this is something that Douglas McGregor talked about. War has changed. It's become more about this drone warfare. And you're talking about bunkers deep down in the ground that Iran has. So even if the United States dropped a nuke, the Iranians can still fire back, hit back, and that's what they're doing. The war has changed. So I think the United States knew this, Fred. I think they're looking to get to more of their AI weaponry. So who knows what's going to happen in the future. But people have to understand who Iran is and what they're capable of. And unfortunately, people who propagandize are not getting the truth, Fred.
We're going to run out. I fear the United States is going to run out of bombs and missiles.
We've damn near ran out of standoff munitions. They're about to hit the point where they have to actually fly in, and then they're going to start getting shot down.
Energy weapons.
You cannot win. You cannot win any fucking. You can't take over a country without having a ground component. You just can't.
Yeah,
it's never happened in history, dude. Like, it's just a thing.
And a bombing campaign usually doesn't push the country against you. It usually unites the country.
Yes.
In Tehran the other day, they were in the streets and they're launching off missiles. Here, I'll go grab it. They're launching off missiles and the people in the streets are screaming. I mean, they weren't screaming, let's go, like Americans. They were screaming Allah and everything else like that. But it's their version of let's go. We are fucking ready. Martyr us. We are not, we will die before we become the United States slaves. I'm going to grab that video, but any thoughts you guys have, please let me know. Let me grab it real quick. It's a crazy video.
Oh, it is. It is. Yeah. They've been, the people have been out in the streets in the major cities every single night, even during the ceasefire till 6:30 in the morning, staying on the streets, waving flags in support of their sovereignty. Their sovereignty.
I love that word.
It's a difficult word for Americans to spell, but we have it too, and we should be trying to grab it back from these predators. That's
predator class.
I refuse to call them elites. The predators.
Who was it that said the vampire class?
The vampire class. The predator class.
I like the vampire class.
Fred, Sleepy J, here's the video, 25 seconds. These are the people in the streets of Tehran. Our caller just mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, that the people in Tehran have been in the streets every single day, and they have. One of the tactics, too, as well, Fred, is that they know they got like a 3-to-1 advantage, maybe a 4-to-1 advantage over the people who are Western friendly and want the monarch back. I mean, there's still people that want the monarch back. It's just fucking crazy. The Shah. But they won't let them get into the streets. They're like, nope, we're going to show you what true nationalism is. Here we go. Look at this video real quick. This is in the streets of Tehran. As missiles are sailing towards Israel. I mean, there they go. It's a missile headed to Israel. That's nuts. That is crazy, man. I'm sorry, but Iran is taking on the Epstein class, and nobody else is. So big ups to Iran for doing something. And, Donald Trump, the peace president, which I like call the piece of shit president, what happened? And he's lying. I never said that. Yeah, that's exactly what you said. And he walked off of the 60-minute interview. And the 60-minute interview was just like a Democratic operative just kind of going after a Republican. So it sucked anyways. But Donald Trump, I mean, he got up and walked out of the interview eventually after they argued about the election. And the way he's talking about elections, he's not really talking about, well, we should make it fair and transparent. It's rigged. It's rigged. The language they're using is they're just getting people to be forcing people to take a side. And that's a shame, right? It's just a fucking shame. Fred, how you doing, buddy? You got anything else to say?
Well, I look at movies like Red Dawn, which they remade.
Yeah.
And the original with Patrick Swayze.
Oh, yeah.
That movie's such a shit show.
Little bands of indigenous people, that create the havoc, and we cannot. If you look at the geography of Iran, this is like 70% surrounded by mountains.
I mean, there's a reason no one's ever like held Persia, dude. Like it's like a built-in fortress.
Yeah, the Persian Empire.
It seems like American strategists don't even look at the map. They have no clue what's going on there. It really does seem that way, and it's the most bizarre thing to have all of these media heads, these talking heads on television, repeating the same BS over and over and over again. They can't have a nuke. They can't have a nuke. Hey, they didn't want a nuke until you took out their leader.
People still say that.
They still don't want a nuke. As far as I know, they haven't overturned that rule. They don't need a nuke.
The son supposedly
they can cut those cables.
The son is supposedly of Khomeini's son, who took over, is supposed to be a little bit more. They say more radical or whatnot. But I mean, I don't want to say he's more radical, but I mean, at the end of the day, why wouldn't you have a nuke if North Korea hasn't been attacked because they got a nuke, right? If Pakistan hasn't been attacked because they got a nuke, if these countries that have nukes are protected because they have a nuke, and if you don't have a nuke, you get attacked, you're going to try to build a nuke. And if Israel is allowed to have nukes, why wouldn't Iran?
Russia has nukes.
Yeah.
Russia has nukes. We're attacking them.
Been in war with them for 5 years. Proxy. We're doing it through proxy.
Yeah.
I get it.
Right.
But I guess that's the mentality, Fred, that they, if Israel's allowed to have a nuke, why can't they have a nuke? Is the mentality, I think. So that's what they're going to do. I was going to say something. I lost my chain of thought. Hold on real quick. Oh, yeah. So go ahead, Fred.
No. I was just going to, I wish I could encourage Iran to take out Israel, just completely wipe out their military, all the military facilities, take out everything that supports U.S. troops, U.S. forces, U.S. planes. Just get it over with. This.
I'm with Fred on that one.
The respect, unfortunately, their respect for civilians and not wanting to incur unnecessary deaths is incredibly admirable.
Yeah.
But at some point they got to say this is just too much. They're not capable of making an agreement. They're not capable of compromise. They're not capable of making an agreement and sticking to it. And they have to be stopped. They have
this week.
All right. With that,
it's supposed to be, Fred, a serious bombing campaign for Iran on Israel. Like, this is supposed to be stepped up. So let's pay attention this week to what's going on, because they said they're going to hit Israel hard. And I would think they'll hit parts of the Gaza territory that's occupied now. They'll hit that hard. And because now Iran has showed that, hey, listen, we're going to bomb you, not because you bombed us, but because you bombed Lebanon in our region. So here we go. So it's going to be a very, very interesting week. We'll have to figure it out. It's going to happen as the week the Knicks win the championship. There's a serious bombing campaign going on. Fred, thank you for calling in this morning, brother. We love you.
Love you guys too. Have a good day.
All right. We'll hear from you tomorrow. Fred Edward, my man. Thank you so much, Fred. Love you. Anybody else want to call in? 561-247-2721. We want to hear different opinions here. 561-247-2721. Share the news, share the show, share the love. We're over on Pasta to Go, YouTube,
Hey, we
and
got another
Rumble,
one
and
coming in.
Kick, and of course my Facebook as well, which nobody goes to. But there is 18 people now over on the YouTube live.
Hey,
That's kind of cool.
Give a warm welcome to the professor.
The professor, are you here?
That's me. Yeah. Wow,
Kevin,
you guys
I
know my
love you,
number
bub.
already?
What do you got for us? You got anything to say? Make the and after I got to get some more coffee. So let's see what the professor has to say.
Okay. Let me first by saying
Go Knicks.
I like I like the waiting thing. It's like, you're waiting like at a doctor's office and they play that music and stuff. Whereas, BAI, you can actually hear the other people talking. But I like this better because it keeps it more on track. And I'm like, okay, I know what I'm thinking about. Because when you start hearing other people, especially you and Reggie, and it's just like, wait, I called up about this, but somebody brought up another great point, I just wanted to say, but the good thing is then I can listen back. It kind of stops, and then you listen back, and I hate the sound of my own voice, but it's still good. I get to see what I said and what I missed, and blah blah blah. Now, there's two big things about that I think Americans, I feel we should always take into account. It's all from the Constitution, okay? It's really not a hard read. It's a pamphlet, Get yourself a copy of the Constitution and read it. Now, of course, you're going to have different interpretations of it, just like anything else. Like you guys were talking about the cultism of the Democrats and the Republicans. Hey, let me tell you, the most cultish group I've ever run into is really the far left. If you look at like the Revolutionary Communist Party or the Socialist Democrats of America, none of them are talking to each other. None of them talk to each other.
That's by design, by the way. That's by design.
All reading Marx.
Yeah.
It's almost like how with the Presbyterians and the Baptists and the Catholics, they all read the same book. It's the New Testament and the Old Testament, but they're all but they all have completely different ideas on it. You know what I mean? And so I think that one of the things that we have to keep in mind are, well, two things: reciprocity, okay, and context, okay. So you were talking about the girl. I'm sorry, where was she from? She was from Hungary.
Yes, my date. She was from Hungary.
Okay, so I believe it was Hungary when in the 1980s, when everybody was, it was the cause célèbre was South Africa and apartheid. And, it was a very serious issue, right? Nelson Mandela was considered a terrorist by the Reagan administration. The ANC were considered a terrorist organization. We were dealing with them just fine. Everything was good. And exactly what the South Africans were saying. Hey, how come you're not paying attention to Hungary or Romania, where there were some very serious human rights abuses going on, But the difference was that we weren't, those were more part of the, I guess you'd call it the Iron Curtain or the Eastern Bloc, So it wasn't our tax money going into that. This is why we're responsible for what we do, not for what. Look, you could say oh man, in North Korea or the Congo, whatever. You could say, in this country that they're doing these terrible things, and you're right. But what we're responsible for is our actions and our tax dollars and how they're being used in our name to facilitate genocides. Okay. So that was just one of the points I wanted to make. The other being, if I have a minute, is
no, you do have a minute, but hold on a second, Kev. Do you want to talk about the first point, or do you want to go to the second point and go back? I think you should hold on to the second point, and let's talk a little bit about the first point, right? Because there's some things I want to touch on. I want to get your opinion on.
Point, but yeah.
What's that?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So
I know.
we
I was
talk.
just saying. Hopefully, I'll remember my second point. But go
You
ahead.
should write
Yeah,
it down. All right, think about it for a second and hold on to it. You got it?
yeah.
All right, we'll come back to it. Okay, so the first point. And somebody put in the chat right here, right? EOK. EOK 108. How you doing? Those folks aren't any far left. If you're not doing community outreach, then you're not any lefty. Well, let me just say first off that maybe you might be right on that, but I think that's sometimes the attitude these groups have towards each other, and the reason why they're not communicating with each other is because they all have a different version on what they think is to be, a true leftist or a true socialist or a true Marxist or whatnot. And there is this kind of like, first of all, I think there's a lot of COINTELPRO that's kind of infiltrated these groups, and they have put these people in charge in leadership positions that are very narcissist, right? That are very much just think about themselves, and they look at themselves like, oh, I'm sacrificing myself for the greater good. I want that attention. You know what I'm saying? So they put those people in charge, and they make sure they get rid of any of the individual thinkers in those groups that will really be more of a person who will bring people together. And they let the narcissist, evil people kind of like run the place. And now they're all, disconnected. They're not really functionable. I mean, these groups have thrown people like me and Fiorella and Danny Shaw out of Venezuela, right? Like the PSL was in charge of a lot of that shit that was going on. And they kind of did not let us come on because we weren't the leftists that they liked. We didn't have the same opinions about COVID as they did, right? We didn't have the same opinions about elections in America as they did, so we were persona non grata. And I think that's a big problem we have nowadays because these groups are not inclusive. If you don't check up all their boxes, then they can't stand you, they can't hate you. But the only thing I would say this much, the only pushback I'll give you, Kevin, is that the right groups are just as bad as the left. They just have different types of funk. We might think the left is a little bit worse. And this is something I disagree with sometimes with Gabrielle about too as well when it comes to like these people on the left. We just understand them up close and personal because we've always been hanging out on the left. So they've caused more of an impact, a negative impact on us because we were in the trenches with these people than the people on the right. But those groups on the right, the clans, the cults on the right, just as bad, if not worse in some areas, because I think they're more okay with war and what's going on. And we see that now with the Donald Trump cult. Please, your opinions, caller.
Yeah, my opinion is simply that it's easy. I think that their strategy is smarter on the right because they have things that they disagree with, yet they're able to make common cause. Now, all these people, like, say, let's just take, for instance, something like, who I'm not necessarily comparing to the Klan, but, they're not that far off. Like, say, like the Proud Boys or something. But you have these real nuts, like, like the Boogaloo Boys and this and that. And when they did the Unite the Right rally, like, they were all see, that could never happen on the left. That, you know what I mean? Like, because to be a Republican, first of all you got to do is read their charter, which is they're anti-union, they're all for free market, which means that if you're a cop or you're a fireman or you work for the civil service or you believe in any kind of job security at all, in this caller's opinion, you're a fool to vote Republican. They may let you keep a little more money at the end of the day, but what they're trying to do is destroy public, any kind of the EPA, the Clean Air Act, any kind of public education, all of that stuff they think should be privatized. They think everything should be privatized. And what they've had to do is because you can't win a general election on that. So what they've had to do is mobilize those far right forces and normalize them and kind of bring them into the fold. And they've been smarter about doing it, if you ask me. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Does that make sense? Sure.
What do we do about the mismanagement of the EPA and these other groups that definitely have been run poorly, right? Like, I don't necessarily want to get rid of the EPA or whatnot, but it is mismanaged. And it seems like the left's, kind of solution is just throw more money at it. and you get more corruption, more fraud.
Yeah.
I mean, how do
Yeah.
we fix that? How
Yeah.
do we square that circle? Because the Republicans could sit there, Kev, Professor, and say, hey, you know, look at all this money and they're not doing shit. It's all about nepotism. They're just hiring their friends. I mean, the Democrats do that, right?
Well, that's the nature of the beast. I mean, look at when Trump first came in, who did he put in? Betsy DeVos, who was a charter school person, and he made her the head of education. And it happens on both sides. When after the Cuban Revolution, who did the man was a doctor. Who did Castro put in charge of the economics? He put Che Guevara. You know, so if you want to destroy something, what you do is you get somebody who's against private property, like a Che Guevara, and you put him in charge. And what they'll do is, of course, they're gonna spend money, and they're gonna it's part of the it's part of the problem we have with having a what's called a representative republic democracy, is that every 4 years you can just replace these people. You know what I mean? Now, that's not an argument for saying, well, in a way it is. You know, there's an argument for saying, I mean, why do the Supreme Court, how come that's a lifetime position? How come until J. Edgar Hoover passed away, the FBI was a lifetime position? How come before Kennedy got rid of Allen Dulles, that was a lifetime position? You know, so that they
and when they got when Kennedy got rid of Dulles got rid of Kennedy, got his position back.
There you
Sorry,
go.
go ahead.
There you go. Yeah. So that's just my answer there. I mean, and the other thing I was going to say is that
number two, he held on to it, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. Can we get a drum roll?
I was trying. Well, I remember when I was in the service, and it was still, granted, it was still the Cold War. They told us it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When we shot targets, they were in the shape of Soviet soldiers. You know, like we were like, it's gonna be Russia. This is what it's gonna be. You know, the whole thing. And then, you know, that all came crashing down. But even the military industrial complex. And before I say that, I have to say one thing I heard very interesting, and it was the best argument I've ever heard for covert action, is that the guys like Eisenhower and Truman, you know, who, Eisenhower was sending hundreds of thousands of men to their death. You know, Truman, you know, bombed Japan. Kennedy was in World War II. He saw the destruction. These guys were thinking, we have to start thinking a different way. Like, you know, start thinking like, look, when it comes to war, let's not just throw hundreds of thousands of men and women at each other anymore, because apparently that weighed very heavily on them. And it's a point I personally had never thought about. So it was just a different, I mean, I had a moment there where I was like, oh, well, that's something to think about. But after 9/11, one of the things I remember, I got this is when everyone was still emailing. There was no other, you know, and I get this, like, it's like a chain email. There's like 100 people on there I don't even know. And they're like, oh, here it is. They had built either a battleship or an aircraft carrier, which they called the US 911 or whatever it was. And it was built from the steel of, you know, of the Twin Towers, basically, right? And I remember just writing back, well, I hope it's I hope it's carpet, you know, I hope it's those razors, you know, those little razors that they took those planes down. I was like, I hope they're razor proof, because that's all it took for them to bring these planes into those buildings, you know, putting aside any other, you know, which are all good questions about how that happened and stuff like that. Which, by the way, Nader, back in the 70s, when people were hijacking planes and saying we're going to Cuba, you know, whether it was the Symbiotics or the Panthers or whoever the group was, the Weathermen. They were saying we're going to take this plane to Cuba. You know, Nader had put forth a very, very simple thing. He said, well, why don't we just make it so that once the cockpit doors are closed and the captain and the crew is inside, you can't open it from the outside.
Yeah.
And you know what all the airplane industry said? That's going to cost too much money to do. So that's,
yeah, there still is the problem about the bathroom and stuff, but it's kind of interesting when the pilot comes out now to go to the bathroom, right? How they do it. I think they should have been more safe like that. You know what I'm saying? So nobody could have got in. But I mean, I don't know. It's one of those situations.
Well, what's more expensive to destroy the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, or make sure that they have a small, I mean, it's not like these are luxurious bathrooms that they're building on these planes. So I just wanted to say that. And also one thing I would appreciate it if we would consider, because like I said, reciprocity, right? What's good for us is good. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's one thing when we do it. It's another thing when you do it. Okay. We should talk about fairness in that way. It's what we try to teach children from the very youngest age. Okay. Life is not fair. The world is not fair, but we can try to be fair to each other. Right. If you punch me in the face, I don't pull out a Glock and shoot you in the chest. Right. That's going too far. Okay. When up until 1979, every nationalist group in the Middle East, okay, well, including the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, they were all characterized by very much like the IRA, which was just like, look, we just want self-determination over our own country, like you see in South America.
National
and what happened
sovereignty.
We installed all these religious fanatics, and we said, well, they're easy to deal with. And now we've got people like ISIS, and that's who we're dealing with. And it's a big problem.
Well,
I hope that made sense.
By design too. Anyways, I mean, we were the first ones to support the Mujahideen. Right, the Mujahideen, and that split off to become Al Qaeda and all these other groups, whatnot. And wherever they're at, we always support. The CIA, the government within the government. They always support the most radical groups, wherever they're at. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think it's about religion. It's more about the way these groups perceive everything that's going on. They see infidels coming, so it's like they might weaponize religion, but it's not really about that. It's just about the radical armed groups that we can sponsor out there, and they do our dirty work for us.
By the time we were supporting the Mujahideen, I mean, the Soviet Union was on its last legs, and we knew it. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even important anymore that, we supported. If you can go back and Google and look at pictures from Kabul when the Soviet-friendly government was there, and we tried to make this big thing like, this is the first time they've ever voted. Okay, it was in a small part, it wasn't in the mountains, it wasn't in Tora Bora, but in the metropolitan areas of Afghanistan, there were women wearing mini skirts without head scarves, walking around like not
the
mini
trail,
skirts,
baby.
like
the hippie trail,
right?
People used to go in there and get hashish. You know what I'm saying? The hippie trail was there. It was like
right.
It was modernized.
Lebanon was. I mean, that was the Paris of
France of the Middle East. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
that's all I got. I just wanted to call and support the show and always say you guys are doing great. Let me tell you something. You're going to have people like Candace Owens, and hopefully, I hope you'd reach out to somebody like Norman Finkelstein, because he will. I think he would come on. But it's going to be a time once people start seeing the traction you're getting, bro. People are going to be clamoring to get on this show.
I really hope so,
guys are
but
doing
you know,
great.
there
Guys
is the
are doing great
mechanism of
job.
suppression. Like, listen, there's the mechanism of suppression, and you can see wherever I go, the right gets mad at me, the left gets mad at me. If the right and left both get mad at you, then you're doing something right because you're not playing into that cultish
Absolutely.
behavior.
And
So,
what
I
they're
mean,
looking at? They're looking at the clicks, brother. They're looking at the
exactly.
clicks.
But
Yeah.
but they got the keys to the kingdom, and they have a suppression mechanism that's there, and they have then not only a suppression mechanism, but they have it the reverse. They lift up the voices they want to lift up, and a lot of these anti-Zionist voices are now on the right. And what's crazy about them?
Right.
They're all anti-collectivist, pro-Christian nationalist, anti-immigration, and they kind of allow some forms of war. They're choosy on which wars they're against and which wars they support.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like pro-imperialist. And those are the voices now that are lifted up. And it's kind of scary when you see what's going on.
Yeah.
There's some idiots they've lifted up. This guy, Nick Sorter, Benny Johnson.
Right.
I mean, these guys are fucking idiots. And they're very culty. That's what they're looking.
I mean,
this is one side or the other.
That's the psyop, man. You know?
Yeah. This is the psyop. Yeah.
I feel like I'm taking too long. I want to hear more of the show, brother. But
I love you.
As long as you're good. Love you too, bro. All right, thanks.
Professor.
Thanks, Gabriella. Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
All right.
Oh, man. He thanks everybody. He is the professor. Kevin, my friend. I love him.
I want to make a quick comment about Christian nationalism. So I used to be pretty religious. So like I've done a fair amount of reading of the Bible. And you know what word comes up more in that book than anything else? Refugee. Do you ever hear Christians talking about refugees? I don't. Not these Christian nationalists.
Never.
And that's one of the biggest messages from that damn book is you're supposed to take care of the refugees, dude. Like, and they just the Christian nationalists, they pick and choose what fucking values they want to take from the Bible. So they're not even fucking Christians anyway, in my opinion.
But Josh, Sleepy, that's the hard thing. Like, how do you say fake Christians? And I do. When I get frustrated, I said these fake Christians, whatnot. There's this show I used to go on Saturdays. It was a radio show. It was on Rumble too as well. It was a Christian radio show. And I would say, man, this is not Christianity. Like, you know what I'm saying? They played into all the bullshit, the stereotypes. Muslims are bad. The Islam's coming to take you away. You know, that's the enemy over there. Any type of socialism or collectivism is the enemy. You know, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't watch it, like, you know, any type of collectivism, right? You know, I have a lot of, you know, libertarian anarchist mentality people come on the show because they want sovereignty over their own body and everything like that. But, you know, I still think it should come to the discussion table about we're one species on one planet playing in the sandbox. Can't we play nicely together and get a few things for ourselves without too much overreach and stuff? So I understand that, you know, because the whole thing about it is the Christian nationalist movement in the United States, it's anti-communist, right? But it's not anti-communist to the point where it's like, oh, we can't have too much individual power in the state's hands because it'll be oppressive. It's we can't have that, but let's go to the status quo, the crony capitalism we have, and let's stand behind that. When we know that's a failed system that thrives on the pain and suffering of the citizenry. So that's their biggest issue, right? You know what I'm saying? It's not just about, you know, pushing down collectivism. It's lifting up capitalism, you know, and I'm talking about the crony capitalism. I know that at least the libertarians have an argument. If we had no crony capitalism, we just had markets existing. And that's the thing. When you go to Latin America, you'll see markets opening up and existing. It's not, you know, I'm talking about in socialist countries like Nicaragua. There's markets there. The markets exist in a socialist a mentality. So that's why I just try to stay away from these words. I use collectivism instead of socialism, but I feel like we can find a way and we can have a floor where nobody really has to suffer the way they're suffering. We don't have to be dropping bombs. I mean, it's disgusting. I saw a video of a little Palestinian kid screaming as the bombs are going off. Just screaming as the bombs are going off. Can you fucking imagine? And that's what your tax dollar is paying for, and you're still out there justifying this shit, you know? And I understand when Joe Salenti loses his shit and says, hey, tough guy, you want to fight a war? Then grab your fucking gun and go yourself. Do it, tough guy, if you want to perpetrate, you know. War is not about killing the enemy for resources. It's about bombing women and children. That's what the fuck today's war is happening. What's going on today in Iran, where we bombed a school full of girls.
First
young
thing.
ladies were killed.
First
day
goddamn
of the
target.
fucking war.
It's disgusting.
Go Knicks. Love Solente too, Bill.
And Pasta, we do have socialism. It's just the money goes to all the corporations. it's corporate socialism.
Corporate social, yeah. I mean, who signed all the Trump people out there? And I don't know if you saw this the other day, Josh. We should have talked about it. The Trump administration sent their lawyers to make a push against religious exemption for vaccines. The Maha people were devastated. They were like, they couldn't believe it. We told you this would fucking happen. The Trump administration is now saying it's not okay to use a religious exemption to not take a shot.
Hey, caller. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
Hey, this is Bob of Atlantis again.
Dude, I was going to go and say thank you to you.
Oh, right on.
What I was going to go on to the Rumble and say, Bob of Atlantis is there again. You're from Atlantis, or what part of Atlantis? Do you want to tell us where you're calling from, or no? You don't have to.
Oh, yeah. East Atlantis. No. I'm in the woods in eastern Tennessee.
Tennessee, baby. All right. So what's on your mind today, Bob?
Yeah.
And thanks for calling, bro. Thanks for watching the show.
Absolutely. No, I wanted to call in and say I've noticed, like, when you criticize Christianity, you criticize a lot of times the Torah. You go back to the Old Testament, and I think it's reasonable criticisms. Noah and Jonah, those are pretty fantastic stories. But one thing that's kind of interesting, and George Carlin, one of my favorite comedians, is sort of the same way. He'll criticize Christians and Christianity, but he has a huge respect for, or it seems anyway. I mean, he's passed. I don't want to speak for the dead, but he seemed to have a huge respect for the words of Jesus Christ, right? Yeah. And it's really difficult to criticize what Jesus says. Yeah. I mean, there's some miracles and whatnot. You might not believe all of that, but his message is something that seems to resonate even with, atheists pretty clearly, pretty loudly.
Yeah. Because he's more of a Buddhist, right? Like than
common sense stuff mostly.
Yeah. He went around, he roamed. Listen, I love what Jesus did. If Jesus was pretty much a communist, right? Like he said, look out for the poor, the most vulnerable, and I love that. I
flipping over tax tables.
Yeah, look, and he got it. He got killed for taking on power, right? For taking on what we would consider the corporate class, the predator class nowadays. Jesus was taking it on back then. And listen, Bob, I went to Catholic school for a couple years. And I had nuns, and they were Jesuit nuns, right? They weren't like my father went a couple of years to the Franciscan brothers, and they really kind of looked at the Old Testament. God is a punishing God. You know what I'm saying? The Franciscan brothers, for my father, beat his ass when he fucked up. I had nuns that were Jesuits that showed me, and really to tell you the truth, Sister Josephine in 7th grade showed me, and this is where I saw it from Sister Josephine, the joy of giving. I changed. I wasn't a kid that wanted to get stuff to feel good. I wanted to give stuff to feel good, right? And that's what Jesus did for me. He did. I'm not fucking bullshitting you and stuff. However, when it comes to our politics and the politics of the world, and I have to be careful. And I'm glad you called because I got to watch, because people could think, oh, I'm an atheist just banging on Christian, whatnot. No, it's the weaponization of religion in our politics and our lawmaking that we need to leave out. I'm sorry. When Candace Owens goes, I'm a Christian first and I'm unapologetic about it. Why? Why are you telling us? Who gives a fuck? When it comes to our policies and our lawmaking, leave the religion out, because at the end of the day, and wars have been fought over this, at the end of the day, it's always going to digress to my God is better than your God. We just have to leave it out. I don't need laws written on a tablet down for me to do good. I don't need it to be written in scripture. I can be an atheist and know, hey, killing is not a good thing to do. Why should we kill? It's not a right thing to do. I don't need anybody telling me that. So I think we just have to find a way, Bob, that we govern without using religion, because it's just going to be weaponized. And we find a way that everybody has a right to practice any of the religion they want, as long as it's not infringing on anybody else. So I just want to kind of make sure that people see me in that light, because I do. 2 years, Sister Josephine, Sister Ellen, just recently they went back to Ireland, and I was able to cook them a couple years ago a nice meal. I was in 7th grade with them, and now here I am as an adult, and we drank wine together and ate a braised lamb I made for them. It was amazing. But those ladies had such an impact on my life, and it was all about Jesus. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, and one of his critiques of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, I can't quote. I'm not really the scripture quoting type, but he criticized them for being publicly religious, for being publicly, they'd say God and pray publicly, but it was all an act. It was all a show, and that was one of the things that he got pretty upset with them about when he was, before he went and flipped the tables over.
They're doing the same thing today that we saw over there, and people should learn from that. They're weaponizing it. They're weaponizing. How is being a good Christian? Dude, Bob, in this group I was on Saturdays, it was all about, they brought on a pastor or whatever to talk about how evil Islam was. It's like, that's not Christianity to me. You're being divisive and pitting people against each other. Jesus loved everybody. How is this Christianity? And that's what I see more than anything, Bob.
That's exactly. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. Divisive is the word, and that's what they do. I mean, that's what DC does. They try to divide everybody against each other.
I just a side note here: Islam actually venerates Jesus.
Yeah,
Judaism does not.
Yeah.
So let's be real here. We have more in common with Islam than we do with Judaism, as far as Christianity.
I think it was Tucker Carlson. I was watching. He said something like, the only woman named by name in the Quran is Mary.
She's got a whole ass chapter.
Yep. Dude, all the Abrahamic religions have their things that are bad, and they have all their things that are good. I don't want to say bad, but just like, like I said, you can't live inside the stomach of a whale for a couple days. It's not possible. There was no global flood. It was no global flood when Noah took in lions, tigers, and bears, oh my, and, set sail out there and kept them together. Snakes do not talk, and you shouldn't stone your neighbor for working on the Sabbath. These are things that, these are the reasons why they're allegories, and they just shouldn't be involved with our policy making, right? If you want the right to support that should happen. But this whole and that's what these new Republicans, right? All these Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Stu Peters, Myron Gaines, Dan Bilzerian, Leandra Johnny. I say their names because these people are being elevated. They're being lifted up because they want to keep the status quo of capitalism, non-collectivism, right? Pro-imperialism, anti-immigration. That's what they're all about. And that's why they're being celebrated right now. And people who've been talking about this shit for so long, where are they at? Cynthia McKinney was doing all this shit. And not for nothing. When you go back and you listen to some old school Farrakhan, right? Has anybody gone back and listened to some Minister Farrakhan? That's some real shit over there. He's not anti-Semitic. He's an anti-Zionist. But for years,
he's a pro-Scientologist, though. So there is that.
What's that?
Farrakhan's got some good and bad in him, for sure.
Dude, the Farrakhan's got a lot of links to Scientology and shit. They use the e-meters, all kinds of weird shit. So he's not the same Farrakhan he was years back.
On the Abrahamic religions, one of the things I've been saying with Zionism and everything, and since 1947 out there, maybe a goat herder wandering in the desert hearing voices from burning plants 3,000 years ago isn't the best means for modern land redistribution.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got something on the soundboard for this. Let me find it.
The weaponization of religion. That's the problem. It's weaponized.
Oh, where's it at?
Bob, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for calling in. You got anything else to talk about?
Any power just because some watery tart threw a sword at you?
Wait, did you hear that? You got the first soundbite of the show, Bob. You got the first one.
I like it. No, I mean, great show. You're doing great first official week last week, and I like it. I like what you got going on.
Thank you so much, man. We're going to be here. You could depend on us every morning, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to be here, Bob, and we just need you to keep calling in here and there. You got a lot of great things to say, and I do appreciate it. And man, we need to have these discussions. And, I love it when people call in and they disagree with me. We can have these discussions. We can hash it out like adults because that's what we need to do. We need to find a way. We are definitely slipping into the fourth industrial revolution, the great reset right now. Track and trace policies are going everywhere. They're taking away more shit. They're going to be causing global crises. We need to come together in some ways and figure out what the fuck's going on.
We don't need agreement. We need understanding with each other.
Sometimes conflict breeds resolution.
Yep, couldn't agree more.
Love you, brother. Thanks for calling in. New York Knicks basketball. I know.
Isn't Trump going to be at that game though? Maybe
they're talking about it. They're asking some of the players, "What do you think if Donald Trump comes?" And they're like, "Hey, still just going to be a game. I hope it doesn't fuck. Please, Donald Trump.
I just don't want there to be some fake assassination attempt at a Knicks game.
No, man, they got Palantir fucking watching facial recognition and everybody going in the fucking stadium anyway, so that's not possible. Literally they're using facial recognition. James Dolan, the fucking owner, what a fucking piece of shit. But I'm not taking away from these kids. We have a character team. Like I said, Jalen Brunson, 33rd pick in the draft. That's not normal for a superstar. Usually it's in the top 10. And it's just crazy. He's from Villanova. He won the title twice over there. He's known as too small, too slow. It's just a true underdog story of him going to the Knicks and taking them to the championship. And one of the greatest hearts in the league, his name is Josh Hart. There was a player who had mental illness problems, talked about, he didn't get a lot of help from people within the league. He had to deal with his own mental illness by himself. But Josh Hart would always come over to him and tell him, if you need me, I'm here to speak to him. It's a good character team. So please, Donald Trump, don't fucking go and show up at Madison Square Garden and play the part of Joey the Mush, right? What's his name? The Mush from Bronx Tale. Don't be a mush. Don't mush my team. Do not fucking show up, Donald Trump. Please do not show up.
The guy just needs attention at all times. It's
silence.
Tiring.
We heard a pin drop.
It's just,
guys, it's drive time in the mornings. It's now your time to call on in. We've had 3 callers so far. Let's go for 6 callers today. Let's hit a record. 561-247-2721. That's 561-247 Bernie Sanders Blackjack 2721. I get all my donations averaging $27 a donation. That means I don't deal with the oligarchs. I just capitulate to the Democratic Party and Joe Biden without that because I am such a cuck. And I can't have Donald Trump, who is the most racist, sexist president of all times. Barack Obama bombed the shit out of fucking Syria. Bombed the shit out of Libya. Fucking couped the president in Honduras. Don't tell me.
I think he was bombing. I'm pretty sure he was bombing Sudan too, if I remember right.
He was bombing Somalia. What he did in fucking AFRICOM, he opened up the doors for AFRICOM. Don DeBar talks about that stuff. Guys, we want you to call on in 561-247-2721. So listen, I have a clip. It is from Albania. We've been talking about this Albanian story. Now, this is a woman. I can't confirm if this is true or false, but for some reason, I do believe it. And she's going to talk about Albania. She's going to say it's not so much that they just want to come on in and take some fucking land and start setting up shop and that we got to pay for it. It's that we ain't got shit to ourselves. We don't have anything. And this seems to be a constant story around the globe where you have this global elite, right, that wants to take more for themselves and leave shit for the people out there. This is Albania. Take a listen to this one, Sleepy J. Guys, call on in. You're listening to Drive Time, 561-247-2721. We want to hear from you.
As an Albanian, I will tell you why we are rioting. We are rioting because there is no schools, there is no pension for pensioners, there is no hospital, there is no medicine, there is no parks for kids, there is no normal salary. You're telling us you want to build a 5-star resort to give jobs to Albanians. Meanwhile, the whole Albania is filled up with Philippines working for less than what you pay us. It's not their fault. They have nothing back home. You want to build a 5-star resort. How about you clean up the mess you've made for the last 15 years? We are so tired of you embarrassing us worldwide. telling CNN that there's no protest going on, it's fake news, there's no land being rented off. Meanwhile, Ivanka Trump is on an interview saying she discovered an island. How convenient. 2 years ago, you changed the law, and in a protected area now, you can build as long as it attracts tourism. And how convenient for Miss Ivanka Trump. The land in question has bunkers, tunnels, and it's in a strategic position for whatever they've got planned. Maybe my parents didn't have the strength because they were forced to go somewhere else for their future. But me, I'm going to speak up every chance that I have. This is not going to happen under my watch, Mr. Edirama. You're done.
All right, we got Snorky on.
So let's get Snorky on. I just wish that I can get a first date with that girl instead of the Hungarian girl I went out with.
I bet
Man,
you do.
where's she at? Where's she? Did you even see that she plugged in? There's Philippines here. They're paying less. It's not their fault. She made sure really quickly to even say, I'm not going to scapegoat the immigrant, but that's what's really going on. There's no industry for us, right? I mean, I think that's important for her to say. You're on the air, Mr. Snorky. Thank you. I got your email, by the way. And it's great hearing your voice. And thank you for calling in and making this show what it is. It's drive time in the mornings. What do you got for us, Snork?
I'm finding the Albany. I'm finding it pretty bad. Two possible scenarios. I know there could be more. People can work it out more later. But number one, did we just identify who the new Epstein is? Is it the new Epstein Island? Or is it...
Yeah, people are saying that.
Yeah, it could be far worse. So I can't remember who I was listening to last night, but said that it's a strategic. Oh, sorry. But it was a strategic place to start an invasion of Europe.
Yeah.
And it cuts off. So it's out there in an area where shipping needs to go. So it allows you to suddenly take over the shipping lanes for that area, which would enable the cutoff of transit of materials to Greece and Turkey if somebody wanted to take Greece and Turkey. And that suddenly just became a really big worry to me, is that now we're looking at two bad situations. I guess I don't have much more than that.
Well, you don't need much more.
No. And again, I don't have any inside information. So,
no, well, I mean, Snork, I'm going to pat myself on the back, right? And people ask me, Pasta, what did you do that made you successful in that? Now you got a name for yourself in this business, and as you're reporting from a news point of view, right? Because I believe people come to me not so much for news. Like, I'm not an expert on anything. I go to other experts, except for elections. People should be, not enough people called me for the Massey election for me to explain to them exactly what went on and to show them what happened. When it comes to elections, you come to me. I'm an expert there. I will say what I got to say. But everything else, I go to other people for expertise, and I have good sources. I have great sources out there. I had a great source, I still have this source in Iran, but we talked about this one island called Socotra, which was technically part of Yemen, but it was being kind of occupied by the UAE, and they were signing visas to Israelis, and the island was just a little bit south in the water of Yemen, and it was like this whole thing going on, and they were arguing over this one spot in Socotra. Well, when you look at Socotra, the reason why the Israelis wanted it is because it was strategically located in the maritime waterways in which they can set up bases and patrol from. So you got to pay attention to these things. This seems like Albania is kind of going down the same avenue, Snork, right? There's something strategic about this land, this area, and they're trying to build this whole story around it, right? And it seems like they got caught. But you're right, and we got to pay more attention to this. Is this another Epstein Island? Is this a strategic military location that they need? What is going on? What is happening? I do have a video I want to play. You got time to stay for a quick video, Snork?
Sure.
It's 1 minute and 22 seconds. You got to give love to the people who do the Lego movies. This is the one. It's a song with Ivanka diving off a boat. Check this out.
Ivanka swam to the island, barefoot to the top, fell in love with the rock, then they bought the lot. Friends both stopped for a swim. That's how they found it, on a whim. Jared and Ivanka, hand in hand. Barefoot hike, they wanted the land. 3,600 bunkers in the ground. 10 miles of tunnels, no sand around. 1.4 billion Saudi cash. Affinity partners, Kushner stash. Rothschilds got how they got there. Qatari money in the air. December deal, 10 years free. Trump wins again, who approved? See, Ivanka swam to the island, barefoot to the top, fell in love with the rock, then they bought the lot. No beaches, no sand, just concrete and steel. Why does the Middle East want this deal? The nuclear island in the Mediterranean, what are they building? No explanation. Swam to it, hiked it, bought it, what is it?
Come on, man.
That's
Isn't that awesome? I mean,
They're
dude,
getting
give
better
it up for
at
the
it,
Lego
too.
people, but explain everything in that story. What's going on over there? What the hell is going on over
See,
there?
this is one of the rare examples that I'll say AI is being used for good.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like, so there is some validity to it as just a tool, but unfortunately, the people
Maybe
who control those
Snork.
tools are bad.
Snork, maybe they want a big data center over there. Who knows?
No, that's
And-
that Stargate shit that's in the Gulf states. That thing is huge, dude. That data center there's massive, man. The one they're building.
Good,
Yeah,
Snork.
I'm not sure that would be a good place for a data center.
Yeah,
But
it's hotter than shit.
well, I don't know the area that well, but we want cooler water, and it's in a warmer area of the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
So as we get up in the power of the data centers, we need coldness.
Cooler water.
And I'm guessing that we're going to start seeing data centers just flock to Wisconsin and states like that have water and cold.
But the deeper they go, the colder the water is. So I mean that bunker goes very, very deep. So it seems like they can get to some cooler water down there. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know if I go with that.
Honestly, I don't.
Yeah.
Whether it's I think it's more of a money laundering scheme personally, but you know.
Well, money laundering is going to be in there no matter what. But one of the problems we have in that area is a lot. The same rules we have for like New York or Iowa don't always play in different areas. So down here, things are cold up to 100 feet down or so. But after you go down a certain distance, it starts getting warmer again, and it can get quite hot as you go try to go deeper.
Really?
So if you have a tall mountain like in Alaska, that is a great big hunk of cold just sitting out there to go for. If you have something near Italy where a lot of tectonic action is happening, you might not always, and there's going to be some areas that are cold, but you might not always be able to have cold ground. Sorry.
No. I'm looking up that they took out they took the land away from like local owners, so it's kind of interesting. But I do have some news right here. I want to report on it. Let me share this really quickly. Here we go. It says right here. The Kushner-Trump project in the Narta protected area is suspended. This is coming Sunday, by the way. The Albanian government confirmed a decision to Politico, a major win, first win for the protesters, but they aren't backing down, demanding a permanent cancellation and calling for a caretaker government. So in other words, they've gotten through the first process of saying, hey, we're not going to do this. It was overwhelming. It was too much. I think the Albanians are showing Americans that if you get your fucking butts in the streets, you can make some real change. And it looks like that project is not going to happen. And if they hawk their eyes over it, make sure that they're watching that on a regular basis, it will stop. They will not get that land.
I mean,
so it's very interesting that we get that news, and this might not go through.
Don't fuck with the Albanians applies to their government.
You can't. You can't fuck with the Albanians. Snork, what do you got for us? Anything else, Bubba?
No, that's about it.
Well, thanks for calling in.
Later.
And make sure you
All
call
right.
in tomorrow.
Bye.
We're building a show here.
I'll try to be up tomorrow.
I love the fact that you guys, I have some regulars already. It's kind of comforting. You guys are the ones that get me up because today I wanted to also sleep on in. But I'm like, nah, you got to get up for Snork. He's going to be calling in. And here you are. You're calling in. Thank you, Snork.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Appreciate it, buddy. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. There it is. There's the gone, the hang up, whatnot. Sleepy. Nobody else in the queue?
I'll know in about 10 seconds.
We'll know in about 10 seconds. They like our queue music too, as well. So we got some positive things. Calling in, waiting the queue.
We can actually add our own music to that too.
By the way, Rumble has 24 people, and there's only 23 on YouTube. So now the Rumble is beating the YouTube. Come on, Team YouTube.
I mean,
where you at?
Are we surprised? Are we surprised?
Oh, 24-24 right now. The score is tied going into the fourth quarter. Let's go, Knicks. Guys, if you want to call in, you want to tell us what you got to say, you got something you want to say. We talked about everything this morning. We talked about Albania. We talked about Christianity. We talked about socialism. We talked about all the leftist groups versus the right groups. We've talked about Epstein's Island. I mean, we've talked a little bit about everything this morning, and that's what the show is all about. We talk about whatever you want. We got 30 minutes left in the show, kids. It is almost a little bit more than 30 minutes. We got about 33 minutes. But we want you to call on in 561-247-2721. That's 561-247-2721. This is Drive Time in the Mornings. We're going to have a different co-host every day of the week except Monday. That's our day. That's the people's day. We have no co-host, but on Tuesday, we have Nico House. Nico House will be with us tomorrow after Game 3 of the New York Knicks game tonight in Madison Square Garden. I hope Donald Trump does not show up. But then on Wednesday, we're going to have Karen Kwiatkowski come back. Her shows have been getting the most reviews. In other words, the reruns, when people go back to watch stuff, her shows are getting a great response. Thursday, we have Kyle Anzalone from the Libertarian Institute and antiwar.com. And Friday, what do we call Andrew?
Rasputin Jesus.
What?
Rasputin Jesus.
Rasputin Jesus on Fridays. Andrew Zygmunt from the Action for Assange group. He'll be here on Fridays. So every day we have a different co-host. We have a lot of fun. We're going to be consistent for you.
Don't forget Nico. Don't forget Nico tomorrow.
What's that?
Nico tomorrow.
Yeah, Nico House. I said Nico House tomorrow after Game 3.
Hey, I'm a little slow this morning, Pasta.
Get your Mountain Dew going. Guys.
I can't get my dew till after the show.
You got to get your dew till after the show. I'm gonna go to Nicaragua and get some good coffee and have good coffee to sell to all you people out here. Maybe send some bags over there. Send to you guys out as gifts as well. But I'm gonna get my own coffee going. I have connections in Nicaragua, and I'm going to make that happen. I've already been speaking to the people there. What happens is, Josh, when you build infrastructure projects, right? In Nicaragua, they had all these infrastructure projects where they're building roads and public transportation and whatnot, but mainly roads. When you build roads, you now open up markets. More stuff could be moved around. There's coffee now that needs to be sold because there's roads to get them in and out. So when you build markets, when you build infrastructure, you actually build markets. Socialism leading to capitalism, free markets, right? It's pretty interesting. So I'm going to get a coffee brand going. So we'll have some coffee over here. I want to thank everybody that I see over there. Naybones, hanging on out. Bill, I see you. You've been hanging out all day. Thank you so much. Gabriel Freedom, of course, the producer. Fred Edward, Bob of Atlantis. He called on in. We talked a little bit about religion, New Testament versus Old Testament. That was some fun conversations. I love having those conversations. So that's people hanging out on the Rumble, on the YouTubes. Fred Edward, Gabrielle, Fred B. Seymour. Who is that? What's going on, bud? EOK 108 been hitting up the chats. Paradise Base USA retracting their messages. Katie Kane. So many people out there. Skywalk. How do you say it? Skywalk Trisiam. God, I'm so bad. And Fred B. Seymour, I think I already said your name. Everybody else, if I missed you, guys, thank you so much. And gals, thank you so much. Call on in 561-247-2721. It's 561-247-2721. That's Bernie Sanders, Blackjack. And Rumble people, now they're beating the YouTube people. The Rumble people are doing it. Call on in, Rumble people. We need you to call on in. Sleepy, what else you got on the docks? Anything fun you want to talk about? We might have to waste some time.
I honestly I slept a lot this weekend, so I took a day off from the news, or 2 days off from the news, and just I washed some animals and cleaned my house and fucked up my wrist and then relaxed.
Why'd you fuck up your wrist? How'd you do that?
Because my cat is very large and he decided to spaz out when I was giving him a bath. So.
Oh,
poor guy.
Poor kitty. Guys, calling in 561-247-2721. Here's the Donald Trump, part of the Donald Trump interview about the peace president. Remember when he said he was going to be the peace president? And now everybody's like, well, we can't have Iran have a nuclear weapon. You're just repeating CIA bullshit. Number one, they didn't have close to a nuclear weapon. Number two, you're just saying that right now because you're just giving the confirmation bias and you're really not thinking fucking independently. You're participating in what's called cultish behavior. You should be calling this asshole out, not fucking supporting him.
What changed? Because you insisted no new wars.
First of all, I didn't guarantee no war. Why would I have built the strongest military in the world? I built our military. I inherited.
I didn't guarantee it. I said no new wars, but I didn't guarantee it. So take these backsies. One more time.
What changed? Because you insisted no new wars.
First of all, I didn't guarantee no war. Why would I have built the strongest military in the world? I built our military. I inherited a terrible military. We had no equipment. We had nothing. I built a tremendous military. Biden gave a lot of it away, but it's still a relatively small portion compared to what I built.
But you said it.
And why the fuck are we almost out of standoff munitions?
Now, I didn't want to use this, but I'm doing you and everybody else a big favor.
I'm doing you a big favor. I'm helping you out. I'm getting what no other president before me was willing to do, right? It's like fucking peace. War is peace. Peace is war. It's the same old fucking bullshit just from a WWE, a guy who's in the WWE Hall of Fame. That's all the fucking difference it is. It's got to be one of the fucking dumbest administrations of all times. Sleepy Joe was probably the most fucking incoherent out there and just fucking gone, right? I get it. But this fucking guy, they got to be, I mean, who are they fucking talking to? The dumbest of the dumb.
My favorite was the other day.
I'm trying not to be an asshole, Josh. I'm trying.
Dude, the other day he was like, no, a ceasefire just means you fire at a more moderate rate or some shit like that. I'm like, no, you fucking idiot. That's not what a ceasefire is. Look up the word cease, you fucking idiot.
Here, I did you a big favor. Here you are.
Over and over again, Mr.
Why would I
President.
build a military? Now,
why would I
didn't
build a
wanna
military,
use this,
stupid?
But I'm doing you and everybody else a big favor. In the midst of the greatest stock market in history, in the midst of the most successful country, because as you know, in the last time we were a dead country, Kristen. I know you're a big liberal or a big progressive.
No,
but
I'm just a journalist. What changed? Because you insisted no
you're a
wars.
stenographer.
I know you're a big liberal. I got to keep people divided. He stormed out when they started talking about the election. And I swear to God, this is done by design, right? Instead of people thinking critically on what our elections are, not understanding, like, because here's the thing. Donald Trump's, he's got the worst approval rating that he's ever had. But now the candidates he supports are winning at a higher level. When he had the highest approval rating, right? His candidates would lose. How does that make fucking sense? How does that make sense? Kim Iverson did a really good job on that. That's just some math you're looking at. But instead of saying, look, our elections are not transparent, the public can't be they can't be confident on the results we give you because it's so fucked up. We need to fix these elections. If they can do open counting, public counting in Nicaragua, why can't we do it in the United States? Caller, thanks for calling. Who is it? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Melbourne, Florida, and my name is David.
David, is this your first time calling in?
Yeah, man. I'm a big fan of you and Fiorella for a long time now, so thanks for taking the call.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. Do you have a handle on YouTube or Rumble? Where are you watching?
Yeah, I'm TaiG2162 in the chat. I go by Orion Spectrum on Rumble when I play on there. Yeah, I really wanted to call because you're talking about election integrity. I know a little bit about that from my time at NASA in the late 90s. I actually worked with a guy named Gary Gans, who designed our electoral tracking systems and our monetary tracking systems that were implemented in 2000 for all the U.S. government agencies.
Drop a little bit knowledge on that, David. I want to hear more. This is my area. Please go on.
Okay. So understand, I was a patriot back then. I really believed in the American dream. I come from a military family. What I ended up seeing and what this guy ended up showing me is that all of our data is tracked basically through Microsoft products, mainly through Microsoft Excel since 2000. So he showed me back then in 99 that, say, if they wanted to drop a field for like a demographic, say like African Americans in Florida, all they got to do is delete that field before the data fills back into the database, and it's gone data. You don't get to see it because it's hidden in the Excel spreadsheet, but it doesn't register on the totals. So they've been implementing the system for over 20 years, and this was implemented under the Clinton administration. So this is a long-term Ponzi scheme.
Okay. Could you explain to the audience how that in almost like a very basic way, how that could benefit or disbenefit one candidate or help another or whatnot, or help the establishment and push back against the grassroots? In other words, how do they weaponize that system that you're talking about right now?
Okay, so you remember in 2000 during the Bush Jr. election, or I should say 99, how there were 30,000 votes that was mysteriously dropped in the state of Florida, and it was specifically African Americans. That's exactly what I just explained to you. He literally showed me how they were going to do it without realizing it, or he was trying to actually show me, so I could understand for myself. Because the same guy had told me if you knew what was going on here, you would run away screaming at NASA headquarters.
I thought they used a list. It was like what was it called? Florida had a law, and I think it's still a law, that you can't vote if you're a convicted felon, and it was like a cross-reference list. So they stopped people from voting by being on that cross-reference list by not being specific. In other words, if there was a guy named Tom Jones and any Tom Jones came to vote in the state, that person was not allowed to vote if there was one Tom Jones who was a convict. Can you explain a little bit different? Are you saying that they use this on top of that cross-reference list?
What I'm saying is this was always part of the system, because as I mentioned at the beginning, this was also used to track money for the congressional ad hoc reports for every U.S. government agency. They take these reports to Congress every year to show all their spending and justify more spending for the next year. Because if they don't spend all their money or hide all their money in a way I just explained to you through these hidden Excel fields, then they don't get the same amount of money, and they get defunded for the next year. So the goal was always to make sure that these ad hoc reports had the maximum yield on it. So the next year we could get 1.3 to 1.5 times that amount from Congress. And that's the same way they rig elections. Yeah, this is big, dude.
And this is the mechanism they use, because a lot of people talk about George W. Bush with the Patriot Act and the AUMF, but also he had the HAVA Act, right? The Help America Vote Act, which was the mechanism in which the states or other individual groups or corporations could get money from the federal government for elections, and they would give the federal government would give the states that money if they use that money spent in certain areas. And I think this is what you're saying. This is one of the mechanisms. In other words, we want to make sure that there's money out there to get that. So show these people the numbers they need to see for us to get more funding, regardless of if it hurts or helps our elections.
So let me explain just how reckless we were, and give a couple names. So at this time, I was contracting for NASA headquarters with a company called Allied Technology Group Incorporated. And we were the contractors to make sure very important data was input. And I ended up with multiple tasks, multiple contracts for the National Science Foundation, NASA, through all this. But what was really weird is just how much like stuff that should be classified, like high level geoengineering and technologies like this that they were working on back then too. So the whole place was insanely corrupt in ways I can't describe. But yeah, out of that one little NASA headquarters office, the education division, is where the system that tracks every penny we have, it was designed, and it's designed to hide money. It's literally designed to hide money. And then towards the end of the year, when we did our ad hoc reports, they would tell us to put in the maximum yield if we didn't have a value. At that time, it was $22,000. So sometimes the grants had no value for a fourth year, but they still wanted us to put $22,000 in there to make sure that they could get anywhere from $28,000 to $33,000 for the same grant the next year. It was just insane how they were robbing the people blind.
You know, I am going to need another fucking phone call from you off the air to talk about this, to get a little bit more understanding too about how this is used in the election system in a nefarious way. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not understanding completely about how it was used. You were working for NASA though, right? You were saying when you were doing this?
Yeah, I worked for NASA headquarters for a solid year, and then I became a contractor through a group called Allied Technology Group. Basically, there was an in-office contractor who took a shine to me. Her husband had a DOD and DOJ contract at the same time, and she was able to slide me into her company. But for a year, I mean, I was just an ignorant high school kid that, thought we were there to do, patriotic work and make sure people elevated. But before I was done, I learned a lot of things about NASA and our government that, most people are just barely cracking the egg on now. So, yeah, basically what I'm getting at is all these Microsoft products. Okay, not only do they have backdoors to the people that created them at Microsoft, but the people in power are using this through the elections and through taxpayer funds to ensure that this Ponzi scheme has the maximum yield every year since I saw it in 97. And we're 30 years past that. So this is just one of the longest, facades I've seen, because after I watched Bush Jr. take it with those 30,000 missing votes and the shenanigans in Florida, that's when I became radicalized. Even before the Iraq war stuff broken out, I mean, it was obvious there was something afoot there. And I had just worked on the technologies that, seemed to have left us with that outcome. And it was just ridiculous.
I'd like to add a little bit to this. So whether they're using Microsoft products still, they're not using Microsoft products, they're using Oracle products. And you better damn well believe they got backdoors into that shit for us too.
So that's true. Let me explain how that works at NASA. Now, Oracle was a monolith, even in the 90s, and it didn't work for crap. It's such a busted product. It's basically the Daewoo of cover pages. And that's all it was. It's a freaking cover page. That's all it is. It's just like the Israeli government. It's a cover page for a real government. Well, there's nothing behind it.
It's awful.
Anyways, yeah, they would suffer no argument about not using Oracle products. So they would take the base information, whether it was electoral data, whatever numbers you have in the Excel sheet, they'd pull it through Microsoft Access, and then they'd put a Oracle cover page on it. And those three programs found ways to clashes that you wouldn't believe. We would have educators from around the country trying to input data at somewhere like Kennedy Space Center or JPL, and I'd have to be on the phone with them all day just because this system would be continually crashing over and over and over again.
Yeah,
It
use
seems
access.
like-
That's crazy to me.
Yeah. I'm trying to simplify too as well, David. Thank you so much for calling. And this is a fucking amazing phone call, by the way. Because you know, I all I say, because I'm not a computer programmer, right? I mean, Josh, he writes code, you probably write code. You guys know a lot more about, you know, you guys are talking about Microsoft and Oracle and whatnot. And you know a lot more than me, right? I know that the CEO of Oracle on day 2 of the Trump administration was on TV and going, I want to make fucking AI fucking vaccines for the individual, and they're going to go in your body and read your what mRNA you need, and when they're going to do that, and then we're going to have cameras everywhere. We're going to see everything that goes on. And I just know that when I hear a person say that shit, you know, when I hear Klaus Schwab and Pavel Urari, I can't even say his name. When I hear them speak, I just know I don't want fucking that. You guys understand the technology of what's going on. But what I tell people is that, you know, when I want to have these arguments, when I want to have these discussions, because I don't know if you've seen this, David, you see a lot of lefties right now. Like the whole thing is, and this reporter with Donald Trump, I should play the clip, which she did it, because they have the same attitude. They're like, if you say that the 2020 election was rigged or faked, then you are fucking crazy. What's your proof? And I say, well, what's your proof that it's real? Because no matter what, the counting mechanism in 99% of the counting in this country is done in the dark, that we can't see it, right? So when I go to Nicaragua, they open up the ballots in front of us, they hold it up and they say, this is who voted, and they mark it on the board, and you can watch everything that's going on. Then they put those numbers on the door, and then those numbers are then sent to central tabulation, but it's all done in the purview in front of everybody. We can see all the counting. We see how it exists. We don't see that in American elections. It's just a corporation, which is a private equity corporation. For those out there who don't know, private equity means that the stakeholders don't have to tell you who they are. The company can keep it secret. The private stakeholders and the private equity companies, they tell us what the numbers are, and it's all done in the dark. What goes in, we don't know if it's accurate when it comes out. But that company then tells us what's going on, and then the state then reports those numbers. And all these people who are saying these elections are fair, they're just taking the word of the state for what's going on.
Well,
it's all operating in the dark.
Dude,
and maybe
all these
you guys
private companies, all these private companies, I guarantee are using Oracle as their database. Guaranteed.
Okay.
Oracle is in fucking everything in government. That guy can go in and drop it whatever the fuck he wants. So I mean, it's even easier with.
But what David's saying,
like this.
I'm trying to kind of like translate what David's saying. David is saying that what goes on in the system behind the closed doors and the dark areas can easily be manipulated and moved around to produce any number they want.
Yes.
And what's given to us, we have to accept. But what he's seen, it's really dirty and dark there behind the closed doors. Is that what you're saying, David?
Yes, sir. The reason we have a budget for Black Ops and for missing money is because they need that money to be missing and invisible every year. If people knew where that money was going, then they would not only object, but they would object on an Epstein class level, if you know what I mean. The amount of resentment that's finally manifesting for me as someone who grew up in DC and has seen the crimes of our leaders in the faces of my friends growing up. It's nice finally 30, 40 years later to finally see people standing up and saying, hey, what's up with all these weirdos and where'd all these kids go? Now, you mentioned these tech bros. I really want to point out to people while we're on this, this is all a part of transhumanism. That's all this is. And it's all it has to be, because it is absolutely revolting when you look into it. DARPA has a transhumanism department. If there's anything anti-Christian based on these recent BS laws that exist, it's transhumanism. Like literally using human beings to try to extend the lives of other human beings. And it also explains our foreign. Oh, it's the dark path for sure. And I saw it firsthand. I don't know if you've heard of Project Gateway in the Washington, D.C. metro area, but it's basically a think tank groomer thing. They're looking for people with exceptional traits. And when they find us, they take us out of class, they separate us, they isolate us, and they put us in think tanks. And that's exactly what they did to me, right up to the point I was a 16-year-old kid going to work for NASA and then getting my own contract. But yeah, if you actually look at it, there is a transhumanist political party at work in the United States since 2014. Their president then was a guy named Zoltan Istvan. This guy brags about being biomodified to live longer than most humans. And the only way you can successfully do those experiments is using other human beings, specifically of your blood type and demographic. All right. Epstein is a transhumanist. Ghislaine Maxwell, I met in the late 90s when she was acting as an advisor to NASA headquarters Space Camp program, because she met me while she was looking for the Space Camp program coordinator. So not only was she involved in Disney, but she had heavy NASA funding. And they know this on a bipartisan basis. The Terra Mar program, which was a Ponzi scheme to seal the world's waters, Ghislaine Maxwell still has an interview out there about that. She has 2 TED Talks about transhumanism. This is all World Economic Forum nut jobs like Yuval Noah Harari, Klaus Schwab. Yeah. And their goal is to biomodify the entire world and us to what they want us to be, to what the Epstein class wants us to be and look like. And if you don't resent that, then there's something fundamentally wrong with you.
That's why, for what Dave just said, that's why a lot of us, some of us who understand what's going on, almost look at Iran as the last line of defense. I mean, I know there's some people out there, and my business partner Fiorella Isabel, along with Vanessa Beeley, want to have this debate with Ryan Christian and Derek Brose, because there's a lot of people that say that Iran is just plugged into the whole global system, right? People like David Icke would probably say that too as well. But there's a lot of other people out there who understand what's going on. They understand the micros. They've actually gone to Iran and seen it, whatnot. And there's a lot of things to talk about because they use the COVID as a way of connecting Iran to the globalist class. But they didn't use mRNA. They didn't necessarily have mandates. And it's very interesting the way things took place in Iran. It makes you question it. But some of us feel that Iran is the last line of defense because they are taking on the Epstein class. And everything that Dave just said there is so fucking true, right? Nobody talks about what happens in New Mexico. They talk about what happens on Epstein Island. But in New Mexico, they were practicing transhumanism, right? That's what Jeffrey Epstein was doing it, and he was getting funded, and there's money from people like Bill Gates that they have to speak about. The relationship with people like Noam Chomsky. These things make you fucking question a lot what's going on. But I think David hit it on the nose about what they're really trying to do to us. And until we recognize that, and then we have to also recognize that Donald Trump is now representing the Epstein class. He isn't here to fight it. He's here to fucking represent it and to push it through. And until we recognize that, we're going to fucking stay on stuck, David. Thank you. I mean, what a great call, by the way.
Hey, you want a fun fact that apparently I'm the only one that's come across that will like make your eye, everyone that's listening right now, if your eyes don't pop, then you somehow already know this. The name Epstein itself is a code name for Bolshevik refugees from the Epstein region. Epstein's grandma directly served with the Bolshevik uprising, as did Netanyahu's grandpa.
Well, we're going to have to talk about that one because I don't believe that the Bolshevik Revolution was about Jews killing Christians. I don't know about that one.
Well, if you look at it, Rasputin was a high priest for the Black Sun Thule Cult Society. This is the same society that went on to start the SS and eugenics, receiving funding and support from Congress, whereupon Prescott Bush actually was responsible for the building and owning of Auschwitz. From 1932 to 1939, his fortune was sanctioned for it in 1942. But yeah, I've drawn a line directly from the Bolshevik uprising to the Ashkenazi arrival in Poland, to the Thule Society. And then when they all broke down, they had to distribute. And so what did they get? We got Nazi City, Bolshoi, Argentina. We got Israel, 1948 in the Nakba. And we got Operation Paperclip, and then MK Ultra started, and everybody went to sleep. You know, they woke up briefly when the magic bullets went off, but then they went back to sleep.
Somebody's talking about the Bolshevik Revolution was funded by Wall Street. That's interesting. We got to see that because I know there was one person in the first part of the revolution that was, and then the second one, it was gone. That's going to be interesting because the conditions that were there on the ground with the monarchy and the relationships of the monarchy that were pushed back, there were a lot of poor people. They were living in shacks. So I don't know about that. That's kind of interesting. I'd like to talk more about that. Sometimes I think they do conflate the conspiracy theories so that so many things are twisted, but that is very interesting.
I mean,
Dave, I want you to be a regular caller on this
truth
show.
to all that stuff, honestly.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a lot of great stuff out there to talk about. Man, David, thank you so much for that call, and please continue to call in. I want to start. I don't know if you're down for this, Dave. I want to start a WhatsApp chat because I could start a WhatsApp chat where we don't have to expose your number. In other words, it would just be your name, not your number. And you'll be able to come in, stay in the chat, or leave the chat. We want to do it so we can send lines out to people, say, hey, man, if you want to call in today, thanks, do that. Let us know. We'll reserve a spot for you, that kind of thing. But thank you so much for calling in, David. That was an amazing call.
I appreciate your time, man. Thanks for having me on.
Man, that was great. Thank you so much. That's it for today, right?
Yeah, I think so. We're 6 minutes out.
We're 6 minutes out. Let's do the final. Thank you so much, Gene. Let's do the final. Let's get to some music. Let's do the final monologue for today. We'll do it at 5 minutes out and whatnot because it's awesome. Ready? Hit the music. Yeah. Importance of diversity and thought, and the peace we can cultivate with our neighbors. In a world that often feels divided, it's our differences that can actually bring us together. Every unique perspective, every story shared enriches our collective experience and fosters understanding. Remember, it's okay to disagree. It's how we handle those disagreements that truly matters. Let's embrace dialogue over debate, compassion over conflict. When we listen to one another, we open the door to meaningful relationships. By engaging with our diverse communities, we can find common ground and build bridges that promote peace. So I encourage you, reach out to someone with a different viewpoint, share a meal, have a conversation, or simply listen. Thank you so much. Let me get my coffee here. Let's create a ripple effect of kindness and understanding in our neighborhoods and beyond, because sometimes conflict can often bring resolution. Hey, thanks for tuning in today. Remember, together we can celebrate our diversity and pave the way for a brighter, more peaceful solution. So until next time, keep that dialogue flowing and the peace growing. For Sleepy Josh, for Gabrielle Freedom, for Fred Edwards, to all the people who called in today, David, thank you so much for that awesome phone call. Kevin, Snorky, Fred, Bob from Atlantis, thank you all so much. I love you. Let's go Knicks tonight. We're going to end the show about 4 minutes early today because I got some things to do, but we'll be here every single day of the week, Monday through Friday, from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern time. Tomorrow, Nico House will be with us. On Wednesday, Kara Kwiatkowski will join us. On Thursday, Kyle Lanzalone will be here. And on Friday, what do you call him? Rasputin Jesus. Andrew Zigman will be here. But every single day, you'll definitely hear me and Sleepy J, who's on the ones and twos. I love you. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, peace.